So first, if you look at Classroom, there should be a new assignment there for your capstone project ideation. Let's see, I thought I changed this. Okay. All right, so this was assigned at 6 o'clock. It says posted at 6:03. Google's slow. You're supposed to post it right at 6. It's due next Thursday. And so I have attached, you all should be able to click on the capstone project Google Sheet. Make sure you can, because I'm not actually the owner of it.
Yep.
Okay. So those are companies that have reached out to us, or we have reached out to, and they have expressed interest in wanting us to do a project for them. So you will need to go through and decide on a project you want to do. It doesn't have to come from that spreadsheet, although those are easy ones to choose from. But you'll need to come up with your idea for your capstone project, and then you'll need to create a README markdown file. You'll need to have the title of your project and a short description or elevator pitch for your project in it. And then in the write-up, in the short description write-up, you should have answers to all of the questions in that bulleted list. And then if you would like to stretch yourselves, it would be good to have a rough wireframe or a mock-up of what your project would be, and a list of features that you plan to build out for your project. Okay, so capstone projects will begin at the end of November, and you will have until January 31st to complete them. So that is what we're working towards, is being ready so that at the end of November we can start capstones.
So we got what, 7 weeks of work, 7 weeks of getting
Prepared, yes.
Okay.
So I would like so that this project will be done next Thursday, and then after that point you'll start reaching out to the clients and ideating with the clients on your own time, and then actual commencement of working on the project will be November.
Yeah, great.
Okay?
Yep.
So, but we'll have other projects or other assignments that I send out where you have to contact them and then report back your conversations and notes and whatever.
Like the assignment will be contacting our client,
Mhm.
essentially.
Yeah.
Is that right?
And then creating the actual like wireframes and all that stuff, so that when we start in November, you already know what you're building and you're spending the 2 months building as opposed to planning. So
Planning's already done.
planning will happen until end of November. Okay, so there will be a few other projects kind of similar to this one. For this one, you should not contact anyone. It's possible that some of you will choose the same project. So if that is the case and we feel like both of you could do the project, then we'll just allow you both to do the project. But we'd have you probably as a team talk to the client as opposed to both of you going to the client.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll try and figure that out if it comes to that. So, but I'd like everybody to go through this project and figure out what they want to do, and then if it comes to that multiple people have picked the same project, then we can discuss whether or not somebody wants to try a different one, or if y'all want to do the same one or whatever. So And the last thing is I would like you to create a new repository on GitHub and add the README to it. And you'll submit the URL to your GitHub as the in this assignment to complete it. And then I will review your README with Rich, and we will send either approval or denial of your project idea. If you get a denial, you have to do this assignment over.
Is
Oh,
there
okay.
going to be any opportunity for like funds behind this, like working with the clients if they
Paying you to do it?
not paying me, but I think it would be nice to like bring in a web designer or something if possible. Like just someone who like does design, even graphic design or something.
I don't know if we have a designer that's willing to donate time, and I don't know that we have funds available to work towards it.
Yeah, is that something that we could talk to the clients about?
Let me check with Rich on it and see what he thinks.
Cool.
I know that we have talked to a couple designers about working with us and donating time. So whether or not they're willing to help out with the capstone projects. Also, there's only like 2 people we've talked to,
Yeah.
and I think only one of them really does UI design. The other one's more of a graphic designer. So to have 4 capstone projects they're trying to design for in 6 weeks so that you can kick off your development might be,
Tough.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, more likely it would be good to like go through some different templates or ideas with the client about what they would like it to look like, and do your best to create that, and then we can deliver that to them, and they can hire a designer to make it better or redesign it, and then maybe they can hire you to come back and
Yeah.
actually fix it. So most of these clients I don't think have a presence on the web at all, or they have a very crappy one. And so anything would probably be better than what they currently have. So, but yeah, so that's that project. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out in engineering help. But this will be due next Thursday. There won't be an extension on it. It shouldn't take a ton of time. It's more thinking.
Yep.
And then a write-up. So there will be another assignment, but that one will post after. I'll post it after, and it's going to be another egghead tutorial that you need to go through. So, any questions on this?
No,
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this is the blacksmith class.
All right. So next, we are going to. No, that's not what I wanted. This one. All right. So we're going to talk about state management. So up to this point, all of our state that we've ever used, all the data that we do, is all in use state. Okay. And up to this point, it has made sense to have it in use state because most of our applications are small. But as your application grows and becomes bigger, then having a use state that you're passing through everything becomes cumbersome. And you probably have felt that a little bit with the Planet one, right? So we're going to talk about different state management methods within React. Okay? And then the assignment for this week will be learning one of the most popular state management libraries. But we're going to talk about the ones built into React today. So for this, I'm going to create an example of what prop drilling is, which you all should know at this point and love and or hate. Okay? So first off, I'm going to have a button component, and it has we'll just have it say it'll get children, Okay. And then it'll have this class name, which will be dependent on the theme. So it'll expect to get a theme, and it'll expect to get this would be button, and then theme is going to be theme. Okay, so we have this button component, and we're going to have a toolbar that will render a div with our themed button in it that says call to action. Okay, and then in the app.js, we're rendering this toolbar. Okay, so up here I want to have our theme, because maybe our theme is also dependent, like this class name on app. Instead, app will have it care about the theme as well. Okay, so class name is app and theme. Okay, so now I'm going to create theme and set theme with use state, and I'm going to default it to dark. Okay, so if I look at my button now, or actually if I look at my elements here, I've got my app component here, and it's got a class of theme dark on it, and I've got a button here, and it's got a class of theme undefined because it's not getting the theme yet. Okay, so to fix that, I need to pass my theme into the toolbar, right? So this is prop drilling. I'm going to drill the theme prop all the way down to where it is needed, which is on the themed button. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my styles, and I'm going to create a style here of app dot theme dark. Background is going to be black. We'll say 444. Okay. I'll throw a normalize in here. The style is normalize. I probably have to have style components too. All right, so that's going to be height 100 view heights and display flex, specify content center, align item center. Okay, now we're going to do dot button. Pixel solid black, border radius 6 pixels, adding 10 pixel, 20 pixel. then we'll say button dot dark is, oh, it's theme dark. Background. Okay, and then let's also create an app theme light. Background will be light gray, and then button dot theme light will be background is and color is and border color is going to be okay. So now if I go here and I change this to light, this is my theme, and if I change it to dark, this is my theme, okay? So I have this set theme. I want to be able to toggle my theme when I click my theme button. So let's change this from call to action to change the theme. Ooh. Okay, so come here, we'll say const toggle theme equals function set theme is equal to dark, then make it light, let's make it dark. Okay, so now that I have this toggle theme, I also need to pass that to my toolbar. And then I need to go to toolbar and accept that. And then I need to pass that to the button. Toggle theme equals toggle theme. And then in my button, I need to accept toggle theme. And add an on click toggle theme. Okay, so now I can click here and toggle my theme, right? So that's prop drilling, okay? Which can get very cumbersome, and sometimes you forget about the middleman, right? And so you're wondering, why isn't this working? I'm accepting it here and I'm passing it there, it's not working though, right? Because you forgot about the middleman, and maybe there's 2 or 3 middlemen, okay? So let's fork this, and I'm gonna call this one simple context. Okay, so in React there is an API instead of use state that is called use context. Okay, so instead of doing it in here, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it theme context.js. Okay. And the way this works is I create a context that I name however I want, and React has a create context export on it. So named export called create context, okay? Which is a function, I just call it, okay? And I can actually give this whatever I want it to be as far as the name of it, okay? So I'm going to export this context, and I'm going to say it is dark. Okay, so inside of my index, I can import that context and I can put it right here. Theme context dot provider. So every context that you create from create context has a provider and a let's see, provider and display name. Yeah, it's just and a consumer. Okay, so we're going to use the provider, and then you can use the consumer, or there's a hook that we can use. Okay, so in here we're going to say, instead of use state for this, we will say const theme equals, actually const theme equals use context theme context. Context. Okay, so use context is a hook that exports, and then you give it the context you want to use. Okay, and it will go get the consumer, it will use that consumer and give you back the context. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so now I'm gonna console.log a function. Okay, it doesn't like that. Let's do for now. Should work. No? Okay. Okay. So my theme works, but it doesn't change. Notice it's light. It should be dark. So let's console.log our theme. Undefined. Oh, okay. So you can pass a value here. I thought that this already took care of it. Dark. Okay, so we won't pass that then. Okay, so where did it go? Okay, so when we use our provider, it accepts a value, and whatever you give it to the value is the state. Okay. So now I have this state of light, and we won't worry about setting it for a second. Now I can take out these from toolbar. Okay, toolbar doesn't care about the theme or setting the theme. So I'll just get rid of these now. And then in our toolbar, we can stop sending those down to themed button, and we can stop sending these down to toolbar. And then themed button no longer has to receive these as props. And instead, we're just going to take this on click off for a second. Instead, what we'll do is return this, and we'll say const theme equals use context, and then import the theme context. Okay, and now our button receives the context, so gets that state from the context. Okay, so rather than having a use state that's being passed down through things, wherever I need that state, I can just pull it from context. Okay. So this is like a simple version of it. If we wanted to have the toggle, then what we could do is we could have let's see, we could in the theme context, we could actually create a new provider. Okay, so theme provider equals a function, and this is going to say const context equals use. No, let's not do that. This will be return theme context dot provider. Okay, value equals dark children. Get children from here. So this is just a React component that I'm making. Okay, make this a little smaller. Okay, same thing that we were using in our index, right? But I can export this. And then here I can import theme provider instead of theme context and use that and get rid of the value here. Okay, works the same way, right? I can change this to light. Now it's light theme, dark, so dark theme. So what I can do is I can create a state object here of theme and set theme. Use state. Okay. And in app I have this, right? Okay, so I can use my toggle theme here. Okay, so in app, I now need to do structure theme here. Okay, so that should give me the background. Did I leave it as light? No, it's dark.
Theme is undefined, right?
Theme is?
Yeah, your console log theme, right?
Oh, this shouldn't be inside of that. It should be inside of this. Okay, there we go. All right, so get rid of that. App.js. Okay, so then we can get rid of this console log. Okay, so now, but our button doesn't have it because our button expects that, right? And then now we get a toggle theme function, and I can do an on-click equals toggle theme. Okay, and now it works just like it did with the use state, because the use state lives within my context, and now anywhere that I need that theme, I can use this, as long as it's inside the provider, I can use this context. Okay? Does that make sense? Kind of?
It seems like, yeah, just like it holds.
It holds the
potential for
state.
use state somewhere else,
Mhm.
and like it makes it faster for use state to kind of communicate with it.
It makes it so you don't have to drill that state down through places. You can just get a hold of that state anywhere you want. Okay, so it holds it in a different place, and everywhere has access to it if you go get it off of the context. Okay,
That's nice. Yeah, keep it up on the top page.
so it's not something you should just initially go to. You
Okay.
probably should use state instead on small apps. On larger apps, definitely state management. So context is one. There's another one called Redux. That's the one that I'll have you all learn via Egghead. Okay. And Redux is what context is kind of modeled after. In Redux, so there's a state management flow called Flex, which allows state to flow in one direction. So you go from your UI to your, you have a controller and a reducer and a UI. Okay, so your reducer gets information, or you have actions, not controllers. So UI sends out actions, the action does stuff, and then sends the data to the reducer stores the data, and then the UI pulls from the reducer. Okay, so it's one-way data flow, just like that. Okay, Redux follows that pattern. of having actions and reducers. And in our, so I'm going to fork this again. So I'm going to say context with
So you can toggle
reducers.
any two things like this, can't you? Not just background things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can make that, like, for example, you have a picture of yourself and a picture of somebody else, and hit that button, toggle back and forth like that.
Yes.
Travis is like, hypothetically.
I was thinking
Well, to make a picture, and then I click on my picture and it's Wesley Snipes, and then I click on my picture,
Me and Wesley, yeah. No.
and it can be like, how
I
do
can
I,
see where
how do I become more
companies-
Wesley?
certain
You can
companies
just
want
send it to
to
like
use that.
producers and be like, huh?
What do you think, huh?
For
Discount
my-
Wesley.
I'm going into acting, yeah, so I'll use that as my page. But yeah, because I was thinking like there's some companies that, you know, would want to use that kind of setup where you just, you know, toggle back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so why is this broken now?
It looks like they're settling.
Yeah, shouldn't be. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to show you reducers within React's stuff. Okay, and I'm creating code sandboxes of all this. I'll post them all out so you can go back and look at this code. I'm also streaming this on YouTube's. Okay, so let's do in our theme context, instead of using our state here. Oh no, what just happened? Okay, so Redux or React has a use reducer hook, okay? And use reducer can be instead of use state, okay? Now the difference here is use reducer gives us back a reducer or a state and a dispatch, okay? And it expects you to send in a reducer function and an initial state, which we would do theme is dark, okay? So we would get rid of this toggle theme function, and here, instead of sending down theme and toggle theme, we would send down state and dispatch. Okay, so this reducer function is the thing that we're going to focus on. I'm going to create a new function here, and I'm going to call it, actually I'm going to just do it like this. I'm going to call it theme reducer, and I'm going to replace this with that. Okay. So in this theme reducer, we're going to get two things when it's called. We're going to expect to get state, which is the current state, and an action. Okay, so this is what, anytime you run a dispatch, so dispatch is a function, state is whatever the state is, which in this case is an object. Okay, so anytime that you run a dispatch, it passes an action out, and this theme reducer will get called, and it'll get the current state and the action that was dispatched. Okay, so actions should always have a type. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch on the action.type. Okay, so in this case we're going to say toggle theme is our type. We could even have this be like that. Okay, it's case. Okay, and then our default will be to throw a new error that says unknown action.type. Okay, so if we don't have a case for it, then the default will happen. Okay, and then what this theme reducer function needs to do is it needs to return the new state. Okay, so we'll say return state and theme is going to be state.theme is equal to dark, and light, otherwise dark. Okay. Okay, so now we have this theme reducer, we have our dispatch, and we just need to make our components care about those, because right now they don't care, right? So we'll jump into our app.js, and this theme doesn't exist here. It's state, remember? And then state, you can destructure like this. So you could just do state and then do state.theme like that, or you can further destructure it. So I'll do it this way. Okay, but we get our state and it has a theme on it. So now you can see our app.js is working. And if we go to our themed button, then we're going to get state and dispatch. Okay, so we'll do state.theme and then toggle theme here on the onClick. What we're going to do is we're going to have our own const toggle theme here. Okay, and what this will do is it'll dispatch an action, which is an object. So actions are always objects. They should have a type on them, remember, and the type should match one of the types that are supported, which is toggle theme. Okay, I could also put just this function inline right here. I don't have to create this out here. Does that make sense? Let me just do that. Okay. But now what will happen is this dispatch function will get called, and our reducer function will get actually called when the dispatch happens, and it will run through this switch, see toggle theme, and it will toggle our state. So it should work identical to how we were doing it before. Okay, so these are nice when you have multiple items that you're trying to store and multiple functions or multiple dispatchers that you want. So this is kind of contrived because it doesn't really make sense to use context in general in this application of a theme for one button. But if you were to grow this, then it would make sense to go get these, right? It would still probably make more sense to use state if you're just doing theme and set theme, but you can use reducer, and this is how you would do it. So this gives you an idea of how the use reducer works. Okay. Any questions on context offhand? I'm going to show you another example. Okay. All right. So Christian gave me the link to his repo today. So I downloaded it, and I'm going to add context to his.
Hey, fun.
Okay, so I'm going to create a context folder and add a planet context.js. But really fast, let's see, I want to go here and stop this so that I can run this one. Just about dropped that. All right, so here is Christian's application for his planets. Okay. If we look at structure here, we have our index like normal. We've got our app.js that I'm going to take all these comments out. Okay, so navigates to Mercury, has this planet component that renders when you have a planet name. Okay. So in here is where it starts to get a little bit messy with the states, right? We've got a planet state, we've got a view state, we've got the set states, but notice none of these states are actually used in planet.js. They're just used to pass things down. Set planet is used when you make this call, but that's the only thing used in these two state calls. Okay, the rest of them go down to navbar, stats, content, and then content also passes them, like content doesn't care about them, right? Just passes them everywhere. And so you have all of these middle layers of passing these props. So a ton of prop drilling here, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a planet context, okay? And we're going to create planet context equals use context, or no, create context from React, okay? I'm gonna export const of planet provider. Okay, so I'm gonna set this up the same way I just set the other ones up in Code Sandbox. I'm gonna return planet context.provider. I'm gonna give the children to this, and then my value for now will just be a blank string. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to move those pieces of state from planet.js into my context. Okay, so I'm just going to pull them in like this for now. But because there are two setters and two pieces of state here, I'm going to use useReducer instead of use state. I could use state, and then I could just pass all of those state pieces into the value as a object, right? And have an object that just had 4 things. It's not that big. It could be done with use state. It doesn't have to be done with useReducer. I just want to show useReducer so you can see what it looks like with multiple things, okay? So I'm going to create another const here. Oh, I don't need to export this one though. Const planet reducer. Okay, it should get the state and the dispatch, or the action. Okay. And in here we're going to have const state dispatch equals useReducer. The reducer function is planet reducer, and the initial state is planet is an empty array, and view is overview. Okay, so now I can get rid of these two, and my value here can be state and dispatch. Okay, I'm also going to make another const here, and then this is going to be use planet context. So I'm going to create my own hook here. And this hook is going to use, is going to get the context from use context. And I'm going to pass it my planet context. Okay. And then I'm going to say, if I didn't get a context, then I need to throw a new error. This means I am using this hook outside of a context provider, or this planet provider, and I'm going to say use planet context must be used within a planet provider. Okay, otherwise I'm going to return the context. Okay, so this way I can just use this, and I don't have to constantly import the planet context and the use context into every single thing. I can just use this and get the same data out. Okay, so it makes it a little bit nicer, a little more user friendly. Okay, so let's jump into our index.js. We're going to add our context here, or our provider here. So planet provider is going to go here around our browser router. It can go inside the browser router. It doesn't really matter. It just has to be around app somewhere. Okay. So that's all we have to do in index. Now planet, we can get rid of pretty much all of this except for the set view. So what we're going to do is we're going to say const dispatch equals use planet context. Okay, and then instead of set planet here, we're going to dispatch, and we're going to have a object here. Remember, a dispatch has to have a type, which in this case we'll come up with later. And then the other thing is when I have data that needs to go to those provider or those things like set planet needs that data, right? Then I can say the convention is normally payload, but this can be whatever you want it to be. Okay, so my payload here is data 0, and it's mad because it needs that. Okay, so now I'm going to dispatch here instead of do the other. Okay, we're going to dispatch there. And why is this mad? I didn't import it. Can't find it. Import from context slash planet context. Should we use planet context? That's weird. Okay. Okay, so now I can get rid of these set states. And then I get all these things that are mad at me, right? But I can get rid of all of them because they are going to live within our context. Okay, so we'll start in navbar. Okay, navbar only cares about set view. Okay, and it only cares about sending it to the button. So this is a pass-through. Navbar doesn't actually care about any of the state itself. So I can just take it out of navbar. Okay, now let's go into content. Take all these out because they're not being passed in anymore. Again, this is just a pass-through to planet and info and that same button component that navbar uses. Okay, so we can take all of that out of there as well. And then we're going to jump into image. And image is our first component that actually cares about these two things. So what we can do is we can say const state equals use planet context. Okay. And then we can say const planet and view equals state and take those off of props. Now our image is set up to use context. Doesn't have to get them from the others. So we can close that one. Our info has the same thing. So I'm just going to go back to that image and I'm just going to pull these two lines in. Oh, I need set text. Okay. Okay, so now I have the info set up to work, and I need to go into the button component. It only cares about set view, and it's using it in several places. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, I'm going to pull dispatch here from, or equals use planet context. Okay, and then I'm going to const set view equals view, and we're going to say dispatch type is set view and payload is view. Okay, so what did I, on this I'll say set planet You could even just have this be planet, and this one, where is it? View. Okay. And let's see, planet context. So now I don't think we had any other spots, right? Oh, stats needed some. Stats. So stats just cares about planet. So we'll say const state. And then we'll do a double destructure here. Use planet context. Okay, so that one should now be done as well. And we just need to set up our setters. Okay, so we'll say we'll say switch action.type. Sorry. Okay. Cash is calling me from Denise's phone to tell me that Denise won't give him food.
Sounds like an
She normally won't call me, so I was like, Alright, so I have two cases, right? I need planet and I need view. And then my default is throw new error. We'll say action okay, so our planet one, what we're going to do is we're going to say, so if action type is planet, then we're going to return a new object with the state, that's current state, right? And then we're going to have planet equal to action.payload.
And that's coming from the data.
Yep,
And state
So-
is coming from just up there.
state's here, payload is what we dispatched.
Yep.
Okay, so action is going to be the object we dispatch. It's going to match that object exactly. The only thing that it will care about is that it has to have this type on it. So anytime you do a dispatch, you have to have a type on your dispatch. Okay. So here in view, we're going to switch.
Are you sure it's not an emergency?
She texted and said it's.
I can only have ice cream with you saying it this year.
He probably doesn't like whatever she made for him. Which is funny he's calling me because I'm normally the one that's making him eat whatever she made. So, alright, so we've got our planet action type and then both of them take a payload, right? So this will be on planet and this will be on view. And that gives us our context now. Okay, so now if I go here and I refresh, I should be able to use this app exactly as it was used before. Okay, notice that it stayed, right? Does it always do that? Does it stay on whatever one you were on? I guess it probably did, right? Because you were using state, and so it would just stay with whatever the current state was on these things.
Yeah.
Okay, so it works almost identical, but let me show you here. Let's just create a new one. Okay. Okay, so here's the difference in our in the application at this point. Okay, so we've got this all happened just because some of this will be white space changes. These aren't changed. So instead of getting the set view from our props, we get dispatch here, and then we create a set view that dispatches. Okay. The big ones will be like this content, right? So now you just need to have those components. Those components don't have to, none of these props come in, none of them get passed down. Yeah, all those components just know how to use. The biggest one was this button one, because the button one had two places that you were passing down set view to it, right? Now button is just smart enough that wherever you put it, it would have access to the context and be able to do that.
That's very nice.
Okay, so this is a more real world example of how to use this context and why you would want to. Okay, again, this is kind of a small app, so context could be overkill in it. Definitely use reducer is probably overkill here, and you could just do it with the state. But I wanted to show an example of how to do this in your app. And so with 45 lines of code, we now have the state management that's built at the top level and no more passing props all down. So you just use your elements or your components, and then the components know where to go get what they need to get. There's no middleman passing or anything.
That's cool.
Okay? Does that all make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
except for I'm confused with the type and the payload part.
Okay, so a standard reducer, like best practice of creating a reducer, is that actions will be an object of type and payload. Okay, so whenever you dispatch an action, which we use the dispatch function to do, okay, you would pass an object to that dispatch with a type and an optional payload. Okay, so in our other example where we were toggling, we didn't need a payload because all it was we were toggling, and it knew what to do. We weren't passing which theme to use, we just wanted it to toggle back and forth, right? So the payload is optional, I'll put a question mark there. But the type is required. Okay, and that way we can just rely on action always has a type and sometimes has a payload, and the payload will have whatever the data is that we need to set for that piece of state. Okay, so it really could be anything you wanted, but this is just more of the standard of what a reducer function will have, and the reducer function just allows us to get the current state and the new action and change the current state based on the new action. Just like, you can think of it just like an array.reduce, right? Remember this function? Okay, which gets the current state and the new action. Okay, and then we give it the initial state, which is whatever, maybe it's an array is the initial state. Okay, but based on whatever is in this array over here, we will do something with this and return a new state every time. So this kind of does the same thing. So it's the same principle here. If you think of it that way, where down here we gave it the new state and we gave it the function, just like we do with this, right? Okay. That all make sense now? Okay. So reducers will be important while you're learning Redux, because Redux uses reducers pretty much just like this. It's a little bit different, but Redux is what you'll probably use Redux more often. It has optimization in it that context doesn't. Context is really good if you have smaller state, but bigger than the use state. You're not wanting to prop drill everything. You normally won't keep all of your state in a single context. You'll keep portions of state in context and then have the providers be lower. So an example would be like in Planet, we might have where this is wrapped by the view instead, or only portions of it needed Planet or whatever, and so you would or even this like Planet would have that Planet context wrapping. Instead of having it up on an index, you'd wrap it inside of this actual Planet component, and then you could use it just here, right? Imagine that this is a bigger app and you went to the planets and had other pages besides these that needed different state, and they would never touch this piece of state. So you could have that piece of state basically just around that route. Okay, so context works better for that. Redux is going to have one giant piece of state that's going to wrap everything, and everything has access to anything in the state, but it's optimized and it flows really fast and good. So context, you can get yourself in trouble when you're trying to build a big app and add a lot of state. It'll start to slow things down. So, because anything using the context, if the context changes, re-renders. Whereas Redux has some extra stuff in it that says, oh, these ones weren't using that piece of state, so don't re-render those ones. Okay. Any other questions on context?
Just like where when you use this, use context more often than use state, or do you
I use Redux more often than both.
Okay.
And you would use, you can use them in tandem, right? Like even in your app here,
Yeah.
there was one place where you were still using state.
Uh-huh.
It was maybe content, no, info. Yeah, so we still had this text that only made sense to be inside of this component.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't move that to the context and get it out of context because it only makes sense to be here.
Yeah, if it was only in here.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we would go get this data and we would show it here, right? So, in fact, we could move all of this down into these two components as well. Well, I guess they're not actual components. So yeah. So I use Redux typically with use state, and I don't use context very often. But I have had applications that are smaller that didn't warrant using Redux and setting it all up. There's a lot of boilerplate in the setup, which they've reduced. They've changed it up quite a bit since it first came out. So we'll kind of go over some of that.
And that's going to be in the egghead you said for Redux?
Yeah, I'll send you the egghead. I want to look at it and make sure that it's up to date before I assign it. But we'll look at it today as well. Okay? So I want to build something, all of us together using context, and then we'll rebuild that same thing with Redux. Okay? But it is 7:20, so let's take a quick break. And I'll call Denise and find out what the crap's happening. Oh. He's calling from the Alexa because he's mad that she's making a lasagna and not mac and cheese. He wants mac and cheese and a soda, and she's making lasagna.
Mac and cheese
It
and
couldn't
soda.
be any closer to mac and cheese.
He's very particular.
Oh, yeah.
He does not like lasagna because he doesn't like the look of it. So Marley was the same way, but Cash is probably more picky than Marley was.
Really?
He'll eat mac and cheese and anything with ketchup, but mostly just bread and ketchup. He likes bread and ketchup. So, yeah, I don't know, man. So, if we go out for hamburgers, he just wants a hamburger bun with ketchup on it. He calls it a ketchup hamburger.
I remember that.
Or a hot dog. Yeah, I'll have a hot dog. I want a ketchup hot dog. Just wants a hot dog bun with ketchup. No hot dog, just ketchup in the bun.
And he said his soul was from the hood. That's life. He was in the ghetto.
Just ketchup.
Because we didn't have any
Even
beef,
my past
so we
life.
would just make bread sandwiches. Our favorite thing in the hood was syrup and bread.
Syrup and
We
bread.
had syrup, we had condiments, and we
Don't,
dip
please
our
don't
bread.
show him that because he'll be like all over it.
I wanted.
Yeah.
Syrup
Syrup and bread.
and can you add whipped cream to that? Thank you. Syrup and whipped
We knew where
cream.
you
hot
lived
dog.
in this past life, we understand.
So, you've seen Big Daddy, yeah, with Adam
Oh,
Sandler.
yeah.
My kid is the kid that eats 32 ketchup packets for
Yeah.
lunch.
Mhm.
I always remember when he spits it and slurps it.
Yeah, it's just like straight ketchup. That's cash,
He's
man.
like, yeah, show what you do. This little trick.
Yeah, he's an interesting kid. All right. So nobody needs a break?
This is a great.
This is a-
Okay. Yep, I did. Come on, wake on it.
I can't forward the message. I think told it.
Well, eat that ketchup sandwich.
What the? I said you won't do what I want to do.
Exactly.
So he's using the echo to call me. Alexa, you won't do what I want you to do. I said call AJ, not go to messages. That's funny. All right. So let's open code editors, and we're gonna create a new React app. So npx create React app. Make sure you're in your projects folder. We'll call this context. Context counter. Let's see. Let's do context to do. We'll build a little to do app with context in it. To do Toto.
Toto. after, yeah.
What?
I didn't put it in my project folder. I can do that later.
Yeah, we can move it. Where'd you put it?
I didn't put it anywhere. I just react out.
They will come on.
Yes.
Miss you.
So do LL,
Huh? Hello?
LL, enter.
Just broken in bed.
Yeah.
So do MV
MV slash,
space context to do.
no slash?
No, you're already in slash.
Okay, context.
Tab.
Tab. Oh, tab?
Yeah. Space. Code. Tab. Project. Tab. Oh, dev island, sorry, get rid of projects. Tab.
Oh, that tab.
Oh, we have two of them?
Yeah, I do, I remember.
Hyphen island?
Yeah,
I don't-
one, then, yeah.
Choose one of them, it doesn't matter. If you want the hyphen, type hyphen and then hit tab. And then projects, tab. And then enter. Okay. And
That's
then
how I go back and, that's what I can do after, yeah.
It's already moved, yeah.
Oh, L,
That just moved it.
L,
LL just shows you what was in,
okay,
where you were at and what's there.
okay, gotcha.
So now open up code, context to do. So you'll need to go
I
code.
don't need to do that.
Yeah, you'll need to go code slash. No, code and then space and then the path that we just did right here
Okay,
with context to do after projects. Could be code, dev island, projects, context to
so
do.
do this right here,
Yeah, but add context to do at the end.
okay.
No, space first. This is the command to open Visual Studio Code,
Mhm.
and then this is the path to your project.
Oh, okay.
So now give it the path, which is code slash dev island slash projects. Alright, so once you're in here, everybody should have that cleanup command, right? CRA cleanup. CRA cleanup. Just run it once. If you run it more than once, it'll over clean up and you'll be sad. What was that? Push up. Oh, so did you CD?
Oh, no, I didn't.
I was starting.
CD projects or CD?
Wait, so you did code for that, right? You
Mhm.
needed to add context to do.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay, I did that, okay.
so do code. Space.
Space.
Context to do.
Mm-hmm. Slash.
Then just hit tab,
Mm.
enter. Okay, then you can close the other code editor that you had open.
Go ahead. Yeah, this one.
Mm-hmm. Just close that. Okay, and then in here, run CRA cleanup.
Gotcha.
Okay, after you run CRA cleanup, npm start. Good? Did you run the CRA cleanup more than once?
Goodbye world.
should. And not found code. No, that's fine. So Command Shift D. Let me see. Can I drag for just a second? I'm wondering if we don't have code actually installed. Okay. Yeah, you were running the code from the downloads folder. This is it from the applications folder, and so it couldn't install or path. Every time you closed it, it cleared the path.
Okay,
So that's why that code thing sometimes works and sometimes it, but now it will always work,
thank you.
I think. Maybe. We'll see. And it'll probably start telling you need to update because, it probably couldn't update itself. So it'll eventually start saying there's an update available. Alright, so oh, you need to run the CRA cleanup before npm start. It doesn't matter. You can just stop it and then run CRA cleanup once and then npm start. So once you start, it should go to localhost 3000 and you should see just hello world. Yeah? Not working?
I don't know if I did it, I closed this terminal or, and then I did the cleanup thing. And then I tried to do everything, so.
Dang, man.
Changes every weekend. Changes every week.
I know, but I like that one.
That's one of the nice, yeah. It's like at the top, so check it out. Like, organic DNA,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. It's like organic chemistry structures.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like the spy watch basically too.
Oh yeah. Yep. All my lock screens represent like elements of me, myself, like on my work, so what I'm interested in, space, and
So you may have already run the cleanup when you were in that other one, and then
And it was.
it looked like maybe running it twice had happened. So that was my bad.
yeah, they're not bad, bro.
No, but it was my bad.
Oh, okay. You're not saying you were bad.
No, just that was bad of me. All right, so we're gonna create a little to-do app, and we're gonna have it use context. Okay? I know you're so excited for to-do apps.
Oh yeah, man. Never get too much to do that.
Okay, so first we need to create our little to-do app. So we're going to create an input here, or let's do a form. Form, and inside the form, there's an input. Okay, and the name will be to-do item to-do item, how's that? Okay, and a button. Add. Type equals submit. Okay, up here we'll have a const handle submit equals a function that gets an event. Event.prevent default. That's all we'll do for now on that. On submit equals handle submit. Okay. Okay, and then we're gonna have a UL here, and in the UL we will have some to-dos. So let's just create one to-do for now of learn context. Each of these will have an input. Type equals checkbox. Okay, and we'll style this all later. Did I give you all the command to install Tailwind? Okay. I'll do that. Let's see that. Mosish. Custom. Add Tailwind.
We're doing that?
No.
We're kind of action right now.
What's that?
Okay, so in engineering resources, come here, and if you click on this more actions, on this snippet that I just did, there's a view raw. So in Slack, engineering resources, click on the three lines, click view raw, and then when that opens in the browser, you'll do Command A, Command C, and then go back to your terminal, and in the terminal run the command that I'm going to paste here. Put it in my terminal.
Even the echo party success.
So what you
Yep.
say, after we command C, we go to our terminal? Is that what you said there?
You would say view raw and then you command A, command C.
Oh, you're talking to me. Okay,
Yeah.
what did you say?
You select all of it once
Yeah,
you view
I
it
did
raw,
that.
and then copy, and then I think you're just talking about a way to paste it. That's
Oh, okay. So I forgot where to paste it.
Okay, go back to
Go back to
Did you already copy everything
Yeah.
in the browser?
Oh, in the browser?
Yeah, go to your resource or Slack. So go here
Where?
to the top of this,
Okay.
scroll,
Mm-hmm.
click the three lines on the,
Oh, okay.
and hit view raw,
Gotcha.
command A, command C, okay? And you can't copy paste this.
Yeah.
If you copy paste this, it'll
Right.
then paste that into
Okay.
the command that I put here. You need to type that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you copy and paste it, then you've just taken the other thing out of your clipboard. Okay, so now go to your terminal and type that last part. PB paste.
The PB paste? Okay.
PB paste. Space.
PB taste. Paste. Taste.
Space.
Space.
And then that URL or that path.
Okay.
And use tabs to make sure you go to the right place. Okay, and then once you're done with that one, then we're gonna do, let's see, how do I have it in here? Okay, and you can copy this one.
So
Copy that and
wait,
paste it into your,
And then, but I'm missing,
you're missing what? Oh, you got
what
it.
is that in the front? Tell that. But then, what's, is there a,
Enter. Oh wait, push up. Get rid of the space there.
oh, right here?
You'll have to use your keyboard to
Go over
type
here.
it move over. One, no, one back.
One back, yeah.
Okay, now hit enter. This should be the tilde.
Oh, so
Yeah, push up
which one?
that right there. So arrow over. Get rid of the hyphen and do a tilde instead.
I don't think I did.
Right there.
Yeah, the arrow back.
Yeah, I did that one.
Wait,
That is, there we go.
now hit enter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now go back to the engineering resources and copy that last line and paste it in your terminal
Okay.
and run it.
This one right down here.
Yep. Okay, and then the last one to run is OMZ reload.
Did you reload? Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you run OMZ reload and something bad happens, let me know.
Nothing. It's good.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the next one, I can paste her.
That's fine.
Just slow on my thing kept
Perfect.
doing that thing. The
What
next
was that?
one, you said,
All the bits of food groups.
Healthy snacks.
just I can just put it in there.
Yeah, healthiest.
And,
And,
finally,
Okay, and then
Cover it all,
do
right?
the OMZ.
I don't know.
Don't go to sleep.
No, I didn't paste this one.
Oh.
Taking it out of the box.
OMZ.
Whenever we're in class and we're not coding, we're just watching.
Reload?
I sleep every time. because I'm so tired
Okay.
that if I have a moment that I'm not doing something, I'll sleep.
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Been a
now,
long life.
everybody write which,
Which age?
which
Which?
So,
add space tailwind,
space or dash?
Dash.
add dash tailwind. So, and it should look like this. Does that look right?
No.
Doesn't?
My A button's stuck and typed A twice.
That's terrible.
It is.
My T button has Cheeto color on it. Well, it's not Cheetos, it's the hot chips. Hot Doritos.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I was trying to code when I eat hot Doritos, I could put some tea and I'm like, oh. It's not the permanent orange tea.
Yes.
Riches don't kill me.
Worked?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so now run add tailwind. And it should say adding and initializing tailwind and be starting to do stuff.
Command.
Command not found?
It just did the same thing.
Just add to one, right?
Yeah, just don't do the don't do the which.
Yeah, no.
Don't be a witch.
Add tell,
Be a
right?
vampire.
Yep.
I always have luck on this part.
Got it?
I always have luck on this part of the coding thing. Because I'm next to the box. So my computer picks up on here.
Just
It never breaks anything. It was always her. It was just breaking down.
That file doesn't exist. Okay, so, let me look at the history real quick.
You dogs are dumb.
You tell him, Travis. You bark right back at him. Let them know. You guys are so dumb.
The reason I say that because I live on top of somebody's house
Mm.
and he got him a dog like about half a year ago.
Mm.
And that dog barks at me every time I come home.
Every time.
Every time. It's a little chihuahua. Because he had probably been abused by somebody who looks like me maybe. So
It's a chihuahua.
yeah, and I'm big, so the combination is not good. But my dog jumps on him every time he does. If he's outside, he'll jump on him and grab his by the neck. Because yeah, he's so protective of me.
That's cute. Oh, rip
That
the
poor
throat
chihuahua.
out.
But in a chihuahua is when he has one of those neck when he barks,
Yeah.
he
Yeah,
because
he's
he's going to put it
loud.
on, but he doesn't care. Goes bad dad.
Alright.
Damn.
That's my life, bro.
Done,
Okay, so now when you want to use tailwind, you can just type add tailwind in your thing. It'll initialize it.
I appreciate you
Set
helping
it
set
all
this
Yes.
I love that.
So including it's got your config and it's already set to use it in React.
Oh, nice.
It's already got the post CSS.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of that. Okay, so okay, so now we can use Tailwind and we can make this look a little bit nicer as we go. Okay. So
Is he?
What is that?
It's not in black.
Yeah, no.
oh, did it not?
Yeah, man. We're gonna come up with something in that. Big win.
Oh,
People who-
the one thing you do have to do, the one thing you do have to do is you have to go into your index.js and import index.css,
Where's this at? Index.
index.js.
Okay.
Thought that would do it. There we go.
So what did you do? You just import it?
Yeah, sorry. Just import index
Oh, yes,
CSS.
yes. Okay. Gotcha. And when am I ready?
NPM start.
That's it?
So if you didn't stop before, you'll want to stop and then start. So it will start to do the tailwind stuff.
Gotcha.
Okay. But now we have tailwind and
Oh, Garrett.
we can do stuff.
Oh, because that isn't, I'm not where you are yet, that's why it's broken. Okay, so outline.
Let's do
So why are you giving these a class name as well?
as well as what?
Like you have container and border, as well as like using tailwind.
This is tailwind.
Container is like the styling aspect of it.
Yeah, this container is a tailwind class. Sets the width to 100 and the max width to 640.
Oh, I thought it was like just a name that was being assigned to it.
And border is
Just border.
border width 1. So, and this one gives the color. And this one rounds it.
What is it? Wait, can you go back to round?
Yeah, it just gives a border radius of 4 pixels.
Okay.
That's good for. Okay. So now we actually put a label here, and we can put that there, and now that will work. Okay. And all right. So just adding a couple classes to make things a little bit nicer. Left.
Did you close input, or you get self-closing?
Input is self-closing. And oh, there we go. Okay. So now we have a few things just to make it look a little nicer. It's okay if you don't have it exactly the same. It won't affect the way it works. But so just make it easier. Okay. So learn context. Now we're going to add in our context. Okay. So let's go to source and make a new folder called context. And in the context, we'll make a new file called to-do context.js. So to-do -context.js is what I called it. So whenever things aren't actual components, then I usually don't use uppercase in the naming, and I don't use camel case, I use kebab case is what it's called.
Okay.
So it's like a hyphen
Mhm.
instead of spaces.
Yep.
All lowercase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know why I capitalized my folder.
Kebab. Yeah, and I don't capitalize any folders
Supposed to.
ever. Well, sometimes
Well,
components.
because it is,
but
it gets kind of
usually I
confusing when
don't.
you're looking where it actually.
Yeah, I typically don't capitalize any folders ever.
Is that like a functional thing, or is that just more of
It's just a style thing.
a what
It's kind of
a practice that is
Yeah.
generally accepted?
so. Okay, so
Oh, yeah,
here.
on my pad product, because that was just the way it looks.
Yes, it's easier to
Format.
find stuff. All right, so in to-do context, we're gonna import create context from React. Okay, we're gonna create a to-do context call create context. Okay, so now we have a context, and we could use that direct, but let's go ahead and make our own provider. Okay, and this one will export to do provider equals, and this is just another, it's a typical React component. Okay, it's gonna get children. Provider is going to return a to-do content.provider. Value for now is just going to be a string, and children will be inside of it. Okay. Got it? You good? Okay. So now we're going to create our reducer. Okay. So we're going to do const state and dispatch coming from an array. That's what useReducer gives us back as an array. useReducer. Make sure that imports from React. Okay. And we're going to create up here a const to do reducer. Notice this one is camel cased instead of upper camel cased because it's not a component. These other two are React components. Create context and to do provider. Okay. So to do reducer, it's just a function that accepts state and action. Switch action.type. I'll say default, throw, new, error, received unknown, action of type, action.type. Okay, so once you have that, then add that to do reducer in the useReducer with the initial state as an object. Actually, we'll do it as an array. And then change your value here to be an object with state and dispatch. So I would say context versus Redux. I would use context like when I'm just trying to put something together quickly, like a proof of concept, or like a what's the word I'm looking for here?
Like a prototype?
Yeah, if you're trying to like rapid prototype, then you could just use context, because it's easy to hurry and just set up a context and move on. For an actual app, I would use Redux. But
What's the reason because
Redux is just more robust, so you could argue that you should use context on small apps, but when your app inevitably becomes a big app, then you have to change from context to Redux, and so I prefer just to go straight to Redux for anything where I feel like I have to have state management.
Okay.
So unless it's a prototype. Like with a prototype, I might just use context and move on. So, okay, everybody's there? Sweet. I'll wait for Charisse to come back so she's not behind.
I'm just reading out loud. It helps me a lot.
Okay.
Are you surfing at all? I mean,
No surfings.
I went 2-3 weeks ago, just because it had been like months,
I just go
It's been
drowning.
a while.
and I was doing terribly.
That's me. I just go drowning. I don't go surfing. I go drowning.
Yeah.
I was getting my butt kicked and I just went to cow parties. I was like,
Is Cowpockeys easy?
it was hard to catch that day for me.
Is there a lot of people there?
Yeah,
it's pretty nice
like
there.
the good ways are like the guys who like live there basically.
Right.
So you know
They get
they're-
mad at you if they.
Oh, if I get anything near them.
What am I missing?
You have the openings called Labbit, and then it closes over here for some reason. And
Labbit.
let's get rid of the closing Labbit
I
there.
don't like a
No,
labbit.
get rid of that closer.
This could be labbit. Tricks are for kids.
And then change your opening Labbit to Label. Not that one, the one up higher.
Oh, it's a labbit too. Wow.
Label.
No, there's nothing wrong with a labbit. You're good eatings.
Except it doesn't render.
And then you're missing a closing paren.
Oh, okay.
Before you
Can bottom me up.
Yeah. Before that curly. That should fix it.
That fixed it. Thanks.
Alright, so let's also, while we're just setting up our boilerplate, let's set up that hook. Okay, so use to do context. Okay, is gonna const context equals use context, which should import from React above. We're gonna give it our context, which is called to do context. Then we're going to check and make sure context exists. So if it doesn't exist, throw new error and say use to do context must be used within context or to-do provider. Okay. And then after this, we return context. Does this make sense what this does?
No.
No?
Like, it throws an error, okay, fine. It throws an error if there's not context.
So if you remember before we did this, we had to write this line in all of the parts that used the context. And we had to import use context from React and to do context from our context file. So what we're doing is we're creating our own custom hook that goes and gets the context from our context and then returns that context. So rather than having to do these two imports, you just do this one import and you get the same value out. Does that make sense? And it also checks to make sure that you're using it within our provider so that you don't have errors because you used it without having the provider. Because without the provider, it can't get any state or any context state, right? It's just going to be undefined. And it's not going to give you a good reason why. You'll sit and like look for how come my context is undefined. But with this, it'll throw an error and say, we know that context is going to be an array immediately because that's what we're making it. And so if it's not an array, if it's undefined or doesn't exist, it's faulty in some way, then we throw an error. So if context could just be false, then we would want to check and see if it was equal to undefined, because that would be the initial, that's what it would equal. If we were to use context like this, it would return undefined if it couldn't find the context. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Your use context is defined. Where did you define it?
Up here
Oh, okay.
in React.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I didn't know use context.
Yeah, when I typed use context, it popped up and I hit enter.
Guess I'm not smart like you, AJ. My computer's not smart.
It's just typings for suckers.
There you go.
So
And I
I'm
can be
typing.
the biggest sucker.
If VS Code will type for me, I let it.
All day typing. I'm the biggest sucker ever.
Right. Everybody has this hook?
Yes, sir.
So this is a custom hook that we're
Okay.
creating. That's all custom hook does, is it does something within it and returns something. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's going to return this value, which is state and dispatch, and we're just calling it context here. Okay? This is just that object that we have in value. All right, so now up in our to-do reducer, we're going to add a new action. So we'll have a case of add to-do. Okay, and we're going to return our state is an array. Okay, so this should look pretty similar to our to-do app when we first made it. We're just doing all of the state here. Okay. So, and then this will be an object, and we'll create the ID here, which we'll say v4. We'll import that in a second, and then we'll say name or title is action.payload, and complete is false. Okay, so we have this object right here that we're creating. Okay, once you're done with that, in your terminal run npm i uuid. Now we're going to import v4 from UUID.
MPI?
Yeah. Like this. npm i uuid.
Okay.
I is short for install. And then write this line up at the top. Got it?
Import before.
Import v4 from UUID after you've run the npm-i. Okay, so now we are ready to use our context. Okay, so we're going to go to our index.js and we're going to put our context around the app. So to do provider. Okay, and make sure it imports from here.
When is that due to take our roles? I thought.
October 27th, I think.
Alright,
Take over.
that's
Take our
Connor's
photos.
birthday.
Yes.
Make sure I shave my head completely for that one.
Perfect.
You looked at me for a second. Let me read
Yeah,
it and see
yeah.
if he's telling the truth. We'll see about that. I wasn't supposed to shave until I lost 25 more pounds.
You're not supposed to shave it to
Yeah,
those?
I gave myself a weight.
So then you could take on an extra 5 pounds off.
No, so
Then
I
he's
can-
off
so I
30.
Can, so I can look like the silver.
Yeah.
So I can look like the silver surfer girl.
Alright.
I can't be a fat silver surfer. I have to be a skinny one or a thin one.
You could
Thinner skin.
could be Father Silver Surfer.
You could be the
That would like
silver
Jabba the
paddle
Hutt.
boarder.
That would be Jabba the Hutt, bro. If I'm bald, like right now, I'm Jabba the Hutt. So no.
Could you imagine like the paddle boarder, silver paddle boarder instead of the silver surfer?
Yeah.
He's just like, wait, hold on, I'm coming up.
Wouldn't the paddleboarder have better abs than the surfer?
I don't know.
Because he's doing
Yeah.
this?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm missing.
I should find it. The people on the
I
paddle
should,
board
yeah,
usually.
and then I'll just drown.
Yeah.
So I'll be fit without drown. I'll be a fit
Be,
dead man. No, I'm just saying if I go out to paddleboarding to work
be
on my
the
abs.
silver e-foiler. And you just stand and use the remote.
Exactly.
Don't have to do anything.
Could you get one with a chair on it?
Yes, I'm sure that you just sit on it.
And recliner though, it has to be recliner.
Just sitting on the wave.
Mini boat.
Then you don't need to lose any weight.
Exactly.
There you go.
It's like a.
Alright.
All right. So now we have our provider, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to our app.js. And in our app.js, we will actually let's start moving all of this stuff to different components. Okay. So we're going to create in our source a new folder called components. And we're going to create a to-do.js and a add to-do.js and a to-do list.js. Okay, it should look fairly similar to things you have done in the past. Yes. Okay, we'll start with add to do. Okay, and if we go back to our app.js, we can just pull this whole form, and cut it, paste it inside of a return here, like so. We also need the handle submit to go with it. Mm-hmm.
And where did you get that from again?
App.js
Actually,
should just be the form, the whole form,
okay.
and then also the handle submit.
Form to form and. Tajas.
Okay.
Similar to that.
Okay, and then in app, we're going to import our add to do and put it in place that we remove the other one from.
Remove that.
Okay. Then we're gonna cut this UL out as well and go to our to-do list. And we're gonna do export counts to-do list equals return, paste that in. Once you have that, then under add to do, bring in to do list.
Import, what's the second one? Import what? After add to do? Oh, to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Rename that. Just rename that to do this. Be better. Do Tajas later. So what am I taking from my app.js to put in my,
The entire UL,
oh, okay,
so like this one over here.
gotcha.
You don't need like divs around it or anything?
Nope.
And that goes in my, and that will go in my to-do,
To-do list.
to-do list, yes, okay.
And then you can get rid of add to do from here. It's gonna be an
Just
app.js.
right in there.
So this here, this whole line?
Both of those. Well, yeah, just delete them.
Yeah.
And then go to app.js. Oh, you have to have a return here too. So put return and then the UL needs the opening caret.
Gotcha.
You don't need that div. Close the div.
Yeah, I don't need it. Remove that.
And then opening caret on that one.
Which one?
So yeah, it doesn't have a.
Oh, there you go.
So go back to your app.js now.
So you have to put in,
Delete the UL but leave the div.
to do this
Yeah,
is
where did
like,
you get that? I don't know.
Yes, we're right.
So here, you're gonna
To-do list, where can I-
add to do.
you have to make that component?
And the carrots?
Mm-hmm.
The list items, the UL.
That should be an
Tab
app.
or entering.
We were coding an app, so we just
Okay.
copied it.
Self-closing.
Fine.
and do the same thing with to-do list. So do enter and then to-do list there. And then you need to move this handle submit function to your to add to do component.
Okay.
Yep. I think if you just save it, it'll. There you go. And then
Already have it.
form. Yeah, that's right.
I already have my handle submit there.
Oh, you, oh yeah, form submit.
Why did they say that for that? You don't know what you're talking about, AJ. It's in my brain. Say that to me.
And go to your app here.
What you talking about, AJ?
Yeah.
So inside the
No.
div,
Only gonna be a dream.
you're gonna
Yeah,
add,
you're right.
add to do.
I'm gonna wake up.
And then.
Is that not real?
And say what to do list.
Sweating.
See, I wanted that to be an icebreaker. The question is, what do you want to say in public? What thing do you want to say most in public? Like, you know what I mean? Like you get in front of the public and say something really loud. What is that one thing?
There it is.
That you like always wanted to say.
That's weird.
Lately, it's been very
Okay.
like everything.
Alright,
All
so,
society, everything you think like is real, is artificial.
It's artificial.
It's made up.
Abandoned ship. Abandoned ship. I've always wanted to say that.
okay, so now to do JS, export const,
One day I will. I'll
To
the
do.
cruise ship.
okay, this one will accept a to do prop,
Oh no.
Togo.
okay, and then inside of its return, we're gonna go to do list and take the li,
Okay.
okay? And put it there,
To-do list, you said to the LA for to-do list?
the whole li.
Yeah.
And then in to-do list, in the li, we're gonna do to-do.
Well, this is fun.
Yes. Moving all the things.
And the app looks exactly the same.
Didn't change at all.
Not even though. That's great.
Yep, as long as it renders.
Means all of the work that we've been doing has been going to
This is called refactoring. You feel better about it. Your boss will not.
So what do I need to put in my to-do JS, add to-do JS?
You're missing your opening form
Oh,
caret,
okay.
and you need to have a return before it. So just put return here in front of form.
Oh, okay. Oh, front of form.
Yeah, just on the same line.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it'll automatically,
Once I do it?
yeah, throw it. No, don't do that.
I don't want to anyway.
Just save it and it'll do that for you.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, and
And
then
that's-
you
I already
need to
did my
go
handle
to
submit.
app.js
Yeah,
and move the handle submit
yeah.
to
check it out.
the other one.
But I already did that. I mean, it's already, I see the handle submit over there, but okay.
Oh, you need the whole, all three lines.
From here?
Nope, from const down to that, yeah,
Okay. And you said move to where now again?
to-do list, or no, add to do. Above the return,
Huh?
above the return.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's weird. Oh, okay, I see. Gotcha.
Got it, then go back to app.js and delete it out of there.
Okay,
Sweet, alright.
been done.
So if you run your app, it should look just like this, which is exactly what it looked like before. But now,
Mine doesn't look like that, but that's okay. I didn't get the blue buttons and all that, that's why.
that's okay, as long as it works.
It did work. It did
As
work.
long as
NPM
it
start,
It did work until I broke it. so-
probably NPM start, because you probably didn't restart after we added UUID
I
before.
bet, okay, I'll just, okay, let's just.
Alright, so in to-do list, we are going to use our context. Okay, so we're gonna say const state equals use to do context. Okay, that'll auto import if you select it when you start typing it. And then in the UL, we're gonna say, so we know state is an array. Okay, so we're gonna say state dot map, and then
Is this the do list?
to-do list. Yep.
Okay. Gotta put my imports in.
Okay, we're also going to make it so that it's smart when you don't have any to-dos. It says oops. Let's do this actually. To do equals title add a to do. Why is it mad? But why? Oh.
Silly AJ.
I know.
Tricks are for kids.
I know.
Margin top 4.
So wait, what is the not state dot length and?
So this is saying, because we know state is going to be an array of to-dos, because that's what we set it up as in our context.
Okay.
So if the length is 0, then that's faulty. So this says if not state.length, so
Okay, false.
if it's false, then this would return true, right?
Okay.
Then the and says if this is true, then also do this. If it's false, then it won't do this.
Yeah.
And so we're going to add a to-do that just says add a to-do.
So if we go into our, is it to-do list or to-do where we have learn context, if we remove that?
Yeah, so now in to-do.js, we're going to, instead of learn context, we're going to say to-do.title.
Oh. That's what we need to do.
Okay, there we got it.
Didn't
Good.
finish my other thing, but that's fine.
Which thing? This thing?
Where we at? Was on the
To-do list?
JS, that, let's see. Oh, hold on. You erased that, didn't you?
Mhm.
That's supposed to be in the other thing.
The LI should have got moved.
Yeah, all that should be out of there. So from,
Yeah, just delete the LI to the LI.
okay, yeah, I already moved it.
And then this is self-closing. And it needs to do equals T. Like this one right here.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
How's it going? Errors.
Yeah, errors.
Errors. Err.
Abandon ship, abandon ship. It's not,
What you can do is just delete that.
I'm gonna get arrested, bro, cause I'm gonna have to say it.
And then go next to use to context. Into
The moment comes,
options
where
or
you
control
just be
space.
like watching it unfold, and you go, oh my god, is this the time? Is this
Is
now?
it?
When I,
It isn't.
and you freeze for a second, just to watch.
You have
Just to make sure.
go to your to do
And someone
context.
next to you goes,
Choke this shit out of.
never get a
Forget
chance
me.
ever again.
There's
Man, I was a sailor in the past life, I know, because why would I wanna say that? That's so random to wanna say, abandon ship, abandon ship.
I think everybody's been a sailor in the past life, given the amount of sailors.
Especially the past of humanity, no matter what country,
go to the
just,
top.
well, we've just been like going around sailing all over the place.
Sails and done a lot of different ways and a lot of
Yeah, and a lot of
different
cultures,
Mhm.
except for Africa, bro.
Oh,
Yeah, they were
We
just-
step foot in the water and go,
I imagine that was like some sort of system that they use.
I stay right in there. That's why Madagascar wasn't discovered forever.
okay. So
Because
go
we're like,
to
we're not going over there. I see that, but I ain't going over there. You go over there. You go over there. I ain't getting that boat. You go over there. Pretty much. No, I ain't going over there. No, you go over there. It's just over and over every day for hundreds of years. No, you go over there. I ain't going over there. You go over there. That's, man, I know because it's in my DNA. I can imagine. I can just,
control space.
DNA was, I can like tap into the past. Oh yeah, that's what happened. No, you go there. I ain't going over there. You go over there. I ain't going over there. You go over there. For about hundreds of years. Were they all, you could have saw a lemur, bro. You could have saw creatures that nobody else ever did. Like, nope, I can go over there.
Oh, because it's gonna be a
Hell with that boat.
I kind of want to see Madagascar.
Oh yeah, but seriously.
So that it would be.
No, you know, I step foot off of there, whatever I've never seen before would come up and just eat me. A bunch of lemurs would come up and
That's why I
just
don't want to go to
rip me
Australia.
apart. Oh,
I just-
as much as I love, that's why I moved here, to move to Australia. I'm not lying. I moved to Kauai and moved to Australia because I heard of all these wonderful things, but then I started reading about it. I said, okay, I'll stay in Kauai.
Yeah,
Maybe a boar.
heard there's a lot of
What are your
Anything
parameters?
can-
school Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, people. Yep. You can sit on the toilet and get bit and die.
Yeah, that's the kind of.
Yeah, spider. One of those deadly spiders.
Yeah, I think I'd go just to
Go to your
touch
to
foot on
list.
it.
And then get right back on the boat.
Yeah, but I think I'd go to New Zealand.
New Zealand. That's
And be
the
like, this is the.
And then get over to Australia and be like this. I touched it. Goodbye.
I think it's just the act of going to the continent is
Yeah.
what I'm excited.
I want to see.
Go to your to do.
They call it Black Mountain or what do they call it?
Because I'm assuming maybe.
Irish Rock. They call it. It's not
So
Irish
I
Rock.
wanna
It's
switch.
that big, like temple in the middle of the earth that's in Australia. But it's a mountain. Yeah, it has UFO properties, bro.
That's weird.
I mean, seriously. There's also a mountain that's made of completely of stones. You know, gigantic rocks. Mixed around. Because that's what I tell people. Every time somebody goes near there, all their radar stuff, everything goes off. Like the all the every time a plane goes near, everything goes haywire. And anytime anybody goes in there, they never come back out. So either they get lost in it because it's a maze, or something else happens to them. But it's a mystery that. Because why would there be big gigantic rocks piled up to make a mountain? And it is a mountain, but it's only rocks. It's not rubble. Crazy. So there's a lot to that continent, bro. There's a lot of history.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, they originally, they know about that mountain. But the man who's come infiltrated that space doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
But they believe it. And they've been there since the beginning, so.
Go to your to do list.
Yeah, they've been,
It's a fascinating place, man.
it's like 70,000 years or something like that.
Yeah, I just don't want to get beat up by a kangaroo.
Yeah.
That's my main reason for not wanting to go there, because that would be embarrassing. Instead of knowing me, somebody would be taping it the whole time, and I'm
Like holding a koala and it's just like digging its claws.
well, it's just be holding me,
At the top council.
holding me with his little hands, and kicking me, or breaking my legs.
Second line.
Sorry, I was looking at something else too.
Just let's console log what you're getting them to do. So that was your turn.
Sorry. That's exactly what would happen to me, man.
And then console log.
So in New Zealand,
To do.
that's the one. If I move to another island outside of Kauai, it would be New Zealand. But they're all islands, bro.
Yeah.
Every continent's an island.
What is it?
Some are bigger than the others.
It's getting it, and then it removes
If
it.
you go to Florida, you're pretty much on an island.
Let me look here to do JS again. Oh wait, there it is.
But yeah, we all sat in a living room and did a list of 50 of what we want out of our living situation, so we know what we want to do as a family.
Maybe your entire family did this?
Yeah,
That's
with
cute.
all the kids, the babies too.
That's cute.
Yeah, the babies. Yes.
See here.
Okay,
That's
that.
JS.
And then she pointed to paper. Paper. She wants paper. Where we move. Hey, I said you're going to need paper to draw.
You would.
So,
Okay, so let's
two
look into
chose Sweden,
projects one more
and the other two chose Japan. Like, okay, but that's cool.
That's good. Give you options.
Yeah, but I'm like, that's of all worlds, because it's sort of very similar to America, very like age-wise as far as like how many years it's been around, wealth-wise, Commonwealth, kind society, sociology. It's similar. Then you have an island life. You have like a similar like Hawaiian culture. So that's all the property when they grew up, so they were comfortable. And then, like I said, English.
It's also pretty close to Japan.
It is really close to Japan. So there's so many other
Go to
reasons
your add to
to
do.
not go to Sweden. For me, it's Sweden because I speak Swedish, but they don't.
Yeah.
They're not used to that cold like I was. I mean, they won't see the northern lights.
So weird.
Travel to Lapland and look at the northern lights. Well, you can take a vacation. A boat trip.
Go to to-do list and let's console log state. Right underneath it.
Is that like Spark?
Oh,
Okay, I hear
That's my brother.
Spark.
Jim.
Oh yeah, Spark. You can hold it down like it. I can see Spark, but when it goes in his fold, it looks like something else. Alright, let's see.
So weird.
Our computer's acting up?
I don't know why though. So go into your app.js and delete the handle submit function at the top.
Are you thinking that you're gonna try to work on Tailwind, or you're just gonna ignore it
So here,
Just for planets or
Control
for anything?
No, I'll show Tailwind, but like,
And that, but
it's not
gradually,
pulling me in.
unless it's something that 100% necessary.
Yeah, it's not pulling me in very much. I mean, I bet it'd be great on some things, but
Yeah, but it has to be something where maybe they're, you know,
I think I still
the client says if he like
Yeah,
specifies.
I like the styling in CSS because I can just go into
Yeah.
browser
Yeah.
and go to the developer tools and then
Right.
just adjust according to like.
Yeah, exactly. No, I know the easy part. And like I said, me putting Tailwind in my JS or you know, it's it can get a little confusing. Because when I was doing it with this last thing, I was trying to figure out where I should put it. You know, where. So I was getting a little confused. I was sometimes overlapping my styles.
see if somehow this we can call.
Whereas if you put it in CSS, you know exactly where it's going. You know what it's going for. And specifying that kind of. But it does help though when he's typing stuff. I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know how to do all the little symbols now for everything, like margin and background and background, bottom, border, all that crap. You know, which is good to know, even if you don't until, yeah, because it's abbreviated so different than CSS.
Mm-hmm.
And it also helped, for me it helped because on the fly I could just add a class name and just start putting numbers in it and just see the results instantly.
Mm.
I was able to, with the button go border bottom, border background, G color, M16, margin 16, and watch it move. Instead of having to go out of that and go find my CSS and type something and create the whole thing. Because when you're doing CSS, you have to create everything, you gotta label it. It's already labeled. You just go into it. Yeah. That's the only thing. It's a shortcut. It's a shortcut. It's a random shortcut. It's a crazy kind of like cluster fuck of a shortcut. But it's if you learn it, then it's not. Then it becomes normal and it doesn't fail. Because
What was it?
but one day you figured it out.
No, it was nothing. There was no problem ever.
There was never a problem.
Never even anything wrong.
You serious?
That's how it is.
Wait, why is what?
But that's coding though. You just summed up coding.
Just didn't refresh or something?
No.
There's never a problem. That's all.
Down at the bottom, she had to do like this,
Oh.
and so there was no to do coming through. And so she was getting this to do, and then she was getting no to do, and we couldn't figure out why. And I just never saw that.
Sneaky. Sneaky little guy.
Like we're console logging and
Yeah.
seeing that it's undefined, and it's like, why?
Why are you done it?
So. Yay! All right, so, all right, let's make our add to do form work.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it will be. Okay, so open add to do, and now right now we have this event prevent default, right? So we're gonna get the value, which equals event dot target dot elements dot, what do we name it? New, oh, dang it, let's rename it. Just call it new item dot value. So the name on the input, change it to new item so that we can just grab it like that. Okay, if not value, return. Otherwise, we want to dispatch, so we need to import dispatch. Not import it, but pull it from use to do
To do context?
yeah, how come it's not pulling? Mine's acting like Sharice's.
You have to get that out of the virus.
Super weird. Alright,
So what are you now? Where do you go? Are we still there?
add to do.
We still add to do, yeah?
So we added this line
Oh, you
and it added this line as well.
got to, you had to import it.
Yep.
Got
And then underneath our if, then we will dispatch. And we send an object, type is add. Is that what we call it? Add? We call it add to do. Add hyphen to do. And the payload is just the title. Okay. So value. Oof.
Did it start closing?
Real stinky.
Isn't it?
So
Isn't there a closing there?
learn context. Oh yeah, then after dispatch we need to say value equals this. Will that work? Oh. Yay.
That is thick though.
Can put a check mark next to that.
Oh, okay, so the closing is over there. Except the end of the event, not here. It's down there.
Do we have a context?
Yes, that's okay. You haven't been. So just leave it out and just do dot dot slash. And check your context. Yeah, do dot dot slash.
Yeah, we'll try it. Oh, I didn't put it. We'll put it
So
down.
now that you've done that, go over and right click on
Over there.
first inside source, right click and do add folder. And call it context.
Oh, dispatch. That's a word, dispatch.
Change it so it's just context.
You can have letters, man.
And then go to the view context
Oh, 39.
and if you
Goes back fast, bro.
what's this?
One more typo.
Close that one, put it there. So grab that and fold it into context. And now it should have, and say yes. So now it should.
I started watching The Rings of Power.
Layer add to do.
The Rings of Power.
Yes, now add.
You know, the spin-off to Lord of the Rings
Oh, cool.
on Amazon.
Yeah.
What's the free stuff?
Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. You know how
Alright, it didn't renew it.
Galadriel? Do you remember Lord of the Rings?
Not well.
This is one character played by
Add
I
context.
forget her name, but she was like the forest nymph,
Just context.
forest
Yeah.
elf, and this shows her when she was a little kid, all the way up into like becoming a warrior and all that kind of stuff. That was really good. Goes deep into the elven. Ideology and yeah, and it shows even because in Lord of the Rings, when they went to the dwarf dwellings under the mountain, it was destroyed by orcs and deep, all the goblins, whatever, destroyed it. So this shows you how it used to look before it got destroyed. Pretty nice.
Cool. Alright, so if you submit your form, you should get your, whatever you put in the form will become a to-do. So learn context, make it so that we can complete a to-do. Make to-dos, add to-dos to local storage.
Yeah, mine was broken.
Why is yours broken?
It's something I did a long time ago.
Because you're Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go back. Let's see why it's broken.
Go back to the browser.
Yeah. Get rid of Neptune.
Oh, why am I on my planet?
It's just because it ran on the same. It's just the same thing. Enter. Can't find to-do context.
Maybe I didn't put it in the apps.
Go to your phone. So
Bullets.
go to. So it should be a lowercase c. Okay, now go to to-do list.
Same.
Same. And to index.js. Same.
Oh wow. A lot of capital C's going on over there.
Okay, now go back to your browser. There you go.
There it is. Thanks, man.
So if you add to the form, and hit add, it should. Well, we gotta type something in. So we have it so it won't add unless you have something typed there.
Me so angry. No, it won't add. Oh. That's it. I did something backwards then.
No, that's supposed to be a checkbox. You just didn't put
Oh,
type
okay.
checkbox on it.
Oh, okay.
So go to your add to do. Return, dispatch use to context, field value, and target dialog.
Eerie creators.
Submit. And we'll try to see your to context.
Yeah, they're good. I like animal crackers a lot.
I think something was imported.
Really like the chocolate animal crackers. Same concept, just chocolate.
Scroll in.
And it
Oh,
was
it looks
just-
right.
They did it
Yeah.
right. I don't know what it was, but it was like
So-
literally
So go to your add to do and up here, console log value.
somehow.
Oh, let's see. Change the name on your
It
input to
was.
new item. Right here. It says new to do item. Change it to new item with the camel case instead of kebabs.
Oh, okay.
But they started doing just animal
Okay, now go back. Yeah, you add.
Did you see my student reflection?
Yes,
There is.
I got it.
Okay, go back to your
Yeah.
to do item.
I was
Or your
like,
to-do
I didn't
JS?
know what I'm gonna say. No.
And then
I have it in my brain.
this is checkbox instead
I
of
felt
checkout.
good about this project, so that question was like.
I guess I was checking out early then.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yes, you were.
think so.
I don't know, but.
Okay.
Check
Now if you go back, it should look right.
Did you give yourself a
Check out. Oh, there we go.
There you go. Alright.
Me
So
Yes.
super fast. Let's make it so that we can check one of these off. Ouch.
Oh.
Actually did pretty well.
Okay, so we're in our to-do context, and after this add to-do case, we're gonna say case
This is-
complete to-do. Okay, so now we're gonna return,
Oh, after false.
yes, state dot map,
Payload.
okay, t dot id is equal to action dot payload.
No idea where.
Actually, let's call it toggle. We're in the context
So up here, not down there. Okay, I wasn't up.
above the default.
Yeah, after falls, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in the wrong area. Okay. Okay, let's see. Case.
Okay, then we're going to return .t complete not t dot complete. So this will be inside of those. Else t. Okay, so we're adding this case right here. And I just realized this will now blow up if you try and complete this one.
So what does T stand for again?
Oh yeah, we actually won't because we don't care about complete right now. T is just being lazy and writing T instead of to do.
Oh, okay, so. Hey man, it's not easy. You're just not being a sucker.
Typing's for suckers.
Mm-hmm. I'm really good at it. I know I can't be like typing stuff, so I'll just put a big T right there. And think it stands for Travis because my ego.
We're not done.
T stands for Travis.
We're not done yet. Open up your to do. Yes. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
To do that, just
To do.js. Okay. And we're going to create, we're going to pull the dispatch. And checked should be to do dot complete.
hey, kind of true. Look at that.
Cool. Just wanted to make sure it worked.
Let me see the 2D context with it.
Yes.
All right. Once you have that, you're done. We'll continue working on this on Tuesday.
What was that you went back to? When you were looking at wedding?
I'm
Just
looking
look at
what
this.
to do that.
To do that slash, context.
Amazing.
Yeah, big deal.
I'm proud about you.
Okay.
It's not my
Favorite weekend?
but I'm going.
This is the last thing I typed was T, I think.
That's straight.
That's ready?
Yeah, that's right.
You want the rest of those chips?
No,
The ones we haven't eaten? You should.
no.
I don't
I'm
know.
trying to make me get, I'm trying to save my hair.
He's
bro.
trying to get to Silver Surfer.
I'm trying to save it, sir. I'm not trying to add hair, I'm trying to save hair.
Y'all have a good one.
Okay, you take care, boss
See ya.
man. All right.
It's working? No?
Yeah, you're recording, so.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Yep.
Thanks for helping me with the, no.
What are those?